Order. If you're able, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sandy, can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Ellenboss.
Here.
Ingalls.
Here.
Mayor Shippers.
Here. Thank you. Okay, next we need to approve the agenda.
I will.
Go ahead, big guy.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended to add an appointment to the Lake Mitchell Improvement Board under appointments item X-B and to remove the Foya appeal submitted by Mr. Art Stevens.
I'll second.
Councilmember Ellenboss.
Yes.
Ingalls.
Yes.
Mayor Shippers.
Yes, motion carries. Now it's time for public comments. Once again, please, I ask that the folks present please refrain from cheers and jeers or other forms of any kind of outbursts or anything. I expect us all to have the highest level of decorum. Let's treat each other like neighbors. Everyone gets their 3 minutes to speak, and let's give them that respectfully, okay? So with that, I will open up public comments.
Hello, my name is Michael Blackmer, and I'm from Dockside, Lake Cadillac Resort. You guys actually a month ago voted me off the Cadillac West Board. I think Mr. King had something to do with that. I'll never know. Mr. Elmboss, you were one of the best cemetery guys. We always had a good relationship. Bought my first house from your dad and everything, but whatever. But if I was still on the board, I would know about what I'm here for tonight. I'm here for item number 13 that you guys are going to be voting for, and I was supposed to be out of town tonight, and I found out at 4:30 about this. And one of my employees said, "Hey, do you know what they want to do by the dockside?" And I go, "What's that?" And they want to put like a pier out there. And the first thing I said, how are they going to do that? Where are they going to park everybody? Because I am opening the dockside back up in May. So you got my house on one side of there, and then you got dockside. Where are you going to park the people to do this? I like the city of Cadillac doing things, getting grants and things. I'm all for it. I'd be all for this pier if you guys have a plan. And what is the plan? Where are you going to park everybody? I have no idea. I already have an issue of getting these cars out of our lots as it is right now. We have to get them towed all the time. So I'm not even open, and I have this issue. What am I going to do if you guys do this? I want to see you guys get the grant to do things and all that. I'm all for that, but you guys got to have a plan. And unless you can buy my house, that'd be a good place to tear that down and put a little parking spot up there, or better yet, for double the price of my house, you could buy dockside. So either way, you're going to need to do something for parking for this. When you have it in downtown city, you got all downtown for everybody to park off the city docks to fish and everything. It's really, I don't want to see someone get hurt. And when we have to put a plan together, when we do dockside or the party store and all that, we have to have so many parking spaces to bring something up to the city and all that. So you guys are doing something without a plan, without, we're going to park the people. I would love to see it. I'm for it, but you got to have a plan. And I don't know how you can vote for something that you don't have a plan for. And I'm just, I'm on both sides of it. My house is on one side, dockside's on the other. It will be terrible for parking. So I'm going to leave and go do what I was supposed to do. I wanted to come in because this is a very important matter for number 13, what you're voting on, because it wasn't well thought of. So I hope, I'm going to say this, as a business guy, I'm not the best business guy in town. I'll be the first to admit to it. But the negativity, and I've talked to Mr. Marine, the negativity on Facebook of this city, you guys don't realize how much you're hurting our businesses. It's hurting. I know there's issues here, but as a business owner, it's hurting. The negative Facebook is just killing our businesses. Why would anybody want to come to Cadillac? Why would someone want to come in my restaurant and drink water and all you guys do is talk about how bad our water is? They don't want to come there. And when they do, the first thing they say, we don't get the water. So just keep that in mind for you guys. You'll deal with it here, not Facebook. Thank you. Have a good night.
Hi, Bill Barnett, Cadillac. Good evening. I'd like to ask the city council meetings be put back on Spectrum so that people can see them on cable TV. It's been too long. There's seniors that aren't getting the gist of what's happening here, the good and the bad, and or the good. So I'd ask that steps be taken to put that back on TV. It's obviously online. Seniors don't usually know how to go online, not all. I shouldn't stereotype, but there's a problem here. People like to watch it on cable. Please get it back on cable TV. There's more wells in the city that should be tested. PFAS is up and down Plett Road, 13th Street, between Hanthorne and Plett. There are more citizens that I can see on a map in between Lincoln and the Clam River. I'd ask you to investigate that, inform them, and warn them. We do need a well sampling plan. Herring's bought 100 tests, Clam Lake should, and I would ask you guys, it would be a real practical step, just buy 100 tests, work with some citizens and get them spread out throughout the community in areas that aren't being tested. We need letters to all the well owners. 90% of our Cadillac wells are detecting some level of PFAS. 50% of the wells in Cadillac are over the federal criteria. You have a PFAS detection out by the new well fields, 0.2 of a mile. It's the Crow's Fly out by Alpine Flats. I want you to hold a meeting, please, with the LDFA, Herring and Clam Lake Township. Herring's been asking for a meeting. They'll talk to you if you set it up for a meeting. I'd like you all to work together on this, get funding from Lansing and DC. We need a health study, a blood level test, a study, mental health support, blanket testing, knock on doors, notify these people. It's been 1 year after you had your LDFA meeting. 1 year, and here we are. 23 billion gallons of water went into the Clam with PFAS in it. That's a failure. We need to investigate what happened and protect the people downstream. So I'd ask that you would consider shutting down the LDFA. I just want to know what your sampling plan is, your hookups, Houston, Wright, West Division, Seneca, Leeson, Arthur Street, Mary, all loaded with PFAS. Please take some forward steps, get the people in here to help you. I don't care if you have to open a whole new department in the city. I think you probably should, but please do something to help your citizens. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Allison Walters, and I'm here in support of Ruth Ann, who's running for Ward 4. And I've known Ruth Ann for a long time. I'm here partially because I'm her friend, but also because I first met her when she was the Council on Aging liaison to the Cadillac Senior Center Board, of which I am the secretary. And Ruth Ann started attending all of our meetings starting in 2017, and shortly after that I became the liaison person to the Council on Aging, which means that we're at each other's meetings to learn what's going on, but also to report what's going on from our end, to let people know what's going on. And at that, one of those times, she needed a ride home because she had a ride there, but she didn't have a ride home because her ride was busy. And we made it a routine so that after every meeting I was taking her home. And when we have the board meetings for the senior center, I pick her up and take her home both, or drop her off at book club or something, whatever she's up to that day. She's always been very professional, always prepared. She has no problems communicating, following our information, reporting what's going on, finding her paperwork and telling us things that we need to know. And she's just been a marvelous addition to the Cadillac Senior Center, and I'm sure to the Council on Aging as well. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm John McLeod, and I'm here also on behalf of Ruth Ann French, who I've known now for about 4 years and had the opportunity to work with her on the Council of Aging board. I think Ruth Ann is a retiree, so she has time to devote to this position. She's had 30 years of service with the Michigan Department of Natural Resources, and her volunteer activities since then has been pretty amazing. She's been on the Cadillac Area Land Conservation Board. She was the chair of that organization. She was a Lions Club member, Civil Service Commission member, and a board member on the Council of Aging. As part of the Council on Aging, she serves on the Personnel Committee, which she's done for about the last 10 years or so. And that committee's main focus is to evaluate the executive director every year, annually. So Ruth Ann is very good at that. So why should you choose Ruth Ann for the Council 4 seat? I think 1, she's intelligent. 2, she's dedicated to the Cadillac community. 3, she's a strong decision maker. 4, she comes prepared to discuss the pros and cons of issues. 5, she's willing to help the council tackle some difficult issues. And she has experience dealing with personnel issues and executive director annual evaluations. And finally, she does not have any conflicts of interest. Thanks for giving me the time to speak on behalf of Ruth Ann.
Thank you.
Well, following along in that vein, my name is Joyce Oatley. I'm a retired educator from Cadillac High School. Also worked for Oasis for a few years after retirement from CAPS as a housing coordinator. I'm here tonight in support of Ruth Ann French as she seeks a seat on the City Council for the 4th Ward. I've known Ruth Ann for 16 years since we started attending the same book club. Unlike other book clubs that meet on a monthly basis, ours meets weekly. So as you can see, I have spent a great deal of time with Ruth Ann. It became apparent to me early on that Ruth Ann had a real passion for the environment as she would talk about her job with the DNR and also about her participation with citizen-led groups such as dealing with a PBB in Oscoda County, contamination in the Cadillac Industrial Park, and compromised air quality due to the tire burning at the cogen plant. I also was made aware of Ruth Ann's dedication to the seniors in this community through her 12 years of serving on the board of the Wexford Council on Aging, and also with her liaison role in this capacity with the Senior Center. Ruth Ann has been a real ambassador and advocate for the seniors in this community, and as a baby boomer of a certain age, I appreciate her ongoing efforts to maintain and improve services for this cohort. I could go on about Ruth Ann's demonstrated contributions to the city of Cadillac and the community at large, while also noting that she has done it with this grace and dignity while dealing with a visual impairment. But I want to focus on what I know best about Ruth Ann. And that is, in observing and interacting with her over the past 16 years, what stands out to me the most is her temperament and her intellect. I have found Ruth Ann to be even-handed, steady, and patient in communication with others. She is always willing to listen to all sides of an issue before drawing conclusions, and she is thoughtful and measured in her responses. In light of this, I feel that Ruth Ann is not only uniquely qualified for this position because of her skill set and civic involvement over the years, but I feel that her temperament and knowledge will also be particularly suited to handling the big issues that the council has been facing and will be facing in the future. Ruth Ann will be a voice of reason in her representation of the 4th Ward, and that is why I urge you to select her for this position. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. My name is Nick Nelson, and I just want to make a short comment here that I was too chicken to do the last time I was here. But 2 meetings ago, we had a reading by the accountant that does the work and checks up on you. And Marcus, there was every category that man mentioned in terms of fund equity, all of the things, and the award that the city has won for their accounting procedures. It's quite evident to me that there must be a relationship between you and Owen that works quite well. So you must be doing something right. I just want to make that comment because I was just too afraid to stand up and say it the other night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, council members, I'm here today to hold you accountable for clear violations of the Michigan Open Meetings Act, Act 57 of 2018, and constitutional due process that has systemically been denied public access to critical government decisions. For instance, the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, since Marcus has taken over, has not been in compliance with OMA at all. There have been no notices, no meetings, no minutes, nothing's posted. The LDFA, since Marcus took over 15 years ago, was completely out of OMA, outside the rule of law with OMA for 15 years. In fact, Marcus admitted the other day at the LDFA meeting, he went without the bylaws for 15 years, as if he was almost proud of that. Act 57 of 2018 requires biannual public informational meetings. There has not been one informational meeting conducted by the BRA, the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. These failures directly violate state law and demonstrate a deliberate disregard for public accountability. You also have constitutional violations of the First and 14th Amendment. The First Amendment protects the public's right to petition the government and participate in public discourse. When meetings aren't posted and we're not allowed to, you violate that right. By withholding meeting notices, failing to post minutes, and restricting public access, the city has effectively silenced its residents. The 14th Amendment guarantees due process, yet the administration continues to operate without public oversight, denying residents the right to be heard. Decisions are being made in secret, preventing the public from challenging policies that impact their lives, such as PFAS. Gross negligence regarding public health. City officials knew about PFAS contamination in 2020. They were aware of the proximity to private wells, yet no action was taken to inform the public. Failing to disclose critical environmental risk is not just a violation of transparency laws, it's a reckless endangerment of public health. If the court determines that these actions were grossly negligent, city officials could lose governmental immunity and be held personally liable. If you continue to choose not to follow OMA, then I will be compelled to file with the circuit court an injunction to halt all BRA decisions until you follow OMA and Act 57 of 2018. Plus, given this administration's deliberate violations of the First and 14th Amendment, I will also be filing a federal lawsuit under 42 U.S.C. 1983 against each one of you, Mr. Pesha and Mr. Dietland. The lawsuit will hold you personally and legally accountable for violating my constitutional rights and the rights of every resident in this city. Additionally, I filed a complaint with the AG's office for not following OMA with the LDFA as well as the BRA. It's time for accountability. It's illegal to operate public meetings outside of statutory requirements. It's not a technicality, it's a crime. He's 400 opportunities that he's missed with that. You're leaving me no choice but to take this to federal court. We deserve an open and accountable and law-abiding government. So I'll ask you, will you uphold the law or will you continue to suppress the rights of the public? Thank you.
Randy Graham. I don't know how to go after that one. I just wanted to say that I started a GoFundMe last week for the residents of Cadillac that do not have the financial capability to get the much needed blood testing. As my own numbers are high from our testing in December, like it can be critical to get treatment. If there's no testing, then they cannot get that. So then where do we go from there? Like there's nowhere. So anyways, there's a GoFundMe that is called Together for Cadillac PFAS House Solutions. If any of you would like to donate on a personal level or as a city, be much appreciated. There is enough $407 from 9 people in 1 week. There's enough for a much deserved resident on Marathon and then working towards the second person. My goal is to start with the critical, then sick, children, anybody else. Again, there's no way to treat anybody if they cannot get the testing, and it is just ridiculously expensive. I hope to have a bake sale / silent auction, maybe May 3rd. I do have a location that was volunteered. If any of you have any suggestions, or that would be much appreciated, I can send you an email with the details later. And thank you for letting us sit in on the last meeting. It was very informative. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Oh, wait, here comes Randy.
Here I is. Here I is.
I was waiting, I saw you back there.
Council, Mayor, Randy Lindell, Cadillac. You sure we can't clap or cheer for somebody does something really super special? I mean,
Your time is running.
I know. Let me sign this. Okay. First of all, again, I'm going to start off with, again, Marcus asked me to leave the meeting 10 years ago. So I'm going to ask him that we give him a no vote of confidence as city manager for what is happening throughout our city, things that have been going on, brownfields, et cetera, et cetera. So a vote of no confidence for our city manager and for some staff that have hurt the citizens of Cadillac. This was 10 years ago. Marcus and I have been going at it, but we remain friends, but we still. And then I'd like to mention Mr. King that just resigned. You know, Marcus, it was looking like Marcus and Steve was ready to get into MMA fight, you know, get in the octagon and go at it. You know, they're just like two roosters sitting right there. So anyways, it's my no consensus for city manager. And the staff's got to pick it up. The consensus for the staff is evaluation, etc. And I also just like to bring up one thing too. And this was a congressman from the UP, and he was a Democrat, Bart Stupak. He resigned his office. And just like the city of Cadillac, one of his main quotes was, "Every boundary of decency has been crossed." You know, look at what they're doing to Elon Musk and all that too, you know. It's a real shame. So anyways, I just want to bring a few of those things up. Something's got to happen here, people. I know we're going to get new council people, etc. And the last thing is I wanted to bring up is, I have a Foya, and I can talk about that later. But again, this PFAS, the valuation, the vote of no confidence. Go Red Wings.
Thank you. Oh, we got some more. Okay.
Do I sign in first or after?
I won't start your time till you sign in. Go ahead.
Hello, this is my first time, Jerica Kiley. In regards to Mr. Barnett's comment, not only should we be posting this back on Spectrum, but why are we not doing these meetings on YouTube? If you look at the Cadillac CCTV's channel on YouTube, we were distributing these 5 years ago. I think that should be open to consideration. Regarding Mr. Petshaw, if you need any help or example, I would follow Boyne City's leadership when they just held his evaluation and removed their city manager. Thank you. That's all.
Hi, I don't live in the city of Cadillac. I'm Doreen Lance from Cadillac Area Community Foundation, and 3 things. 1, I've worked with the city on projects. We collaborate a lot, you know, the Diggins Hill, the Commons, the market, And I've always really enjoyed working with them. They do they're doing a great job as far as I'm concerned, what we do with them. The other thing, Ruth Ann French has been in the Women's Giving Circle for like 15 years, maybe longer. And I've always appreciated her input. She's always at the meetings. She brings a wide variety of, things that we can look at for women and girls in the Cadillac area. So I think she'd be a great candidate. You're welcome. And then the fishing dock, the pier that they're talking about, I do drive down that causeway every single morning on my way to work. I live in Cadillac West, and I do see fishermen out there a lot, and I think it would make it a safe place for them. I do not have a solution to the parking. I don't know about, I didn't really think about that. I just thought with the erosion and stuff that's going on with our lake, it would be an opportunity to fix that, and I think it would be really nice for our visitors to have that, but we do have to figure out that parking. So, thank you.
Sam Knop. Good evening. So real quick, just one comment on the Causeway fishing project thing. I 100% agree with Mike Blackmer, who spoke earlier on the parking, right? So last summer was the first time I went out there with my family on the 4th of July, and I watched about 3 people almost get hit until a state trooper showed up, turned his lights on behind the last car right near Mike's property, right? So that's going to be a serious problem that's going to have to be addressed. You're not going to be able to jam him in his business parking. Dollar General, I'm sure, is getting fed up. I'm sure they're not going to allow people to park there. It's going to be a real challenge and a real issue. Last thing I want to say, here in, an hour when you guys get through this agenda, you guys are going to do something. I want you to remember 2 months ago I stood here, Mike was here, I read the Opens Meeting Act. You are required to do something. If you do not, I'm telling you now, I will walk into the 28th Circuit Court and I will file those misdemeanor charges against each one of you. I will list each one of you. Do the right thing. Follow the law.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no one else, I'm going to close public comments and move to appointments for Ward 2 and Ward 4 council members. So first of all, before we do this, I just want to thank everyone who has filled out the application and stepped up to volunteer for this position. I have to say I was surprised because of the way things have been going lately, and it takes certain kind of person to be willing to step up in troubled waters, shall we say. So thank you all those of you who applied for this. We're going to do this appointment the same way we did the mayor, where I'm going to ask for nomination, support, and then we will vote on.
Are we doing this one ward at a time where we're going to select a council member, they're going to join us, and are we going to make one motion? Or are we going to wait to swear? One motion, okay.
One motion? Okay.
So we want to do one motion for...
For both.
Okay.
For each ward, right?
Yes, so we're going to first make a nomination and vote on, let's start with Ward 2, do it numerically, and then we'll make a nomination and vote on Ward 4, and then I believe we will swear them in, and then they will sit down and we'll continue with the agenda. Does that sound right?
Sounds good. So I'll make a motion to appoint Scott Hopkins as Ward 2 City Council person.
Yeah, before I second that motion, thank you all three for applying, and thank you, Scott. I thought your application was great, your resume was great, and I appreciate, I don't know where Scott is, and I don't know Scott, but I appreciate you putting your name forward. So I'll support that motion.
Right.
Councilmember Ingalls?
Yes.
Ellenboss?
Yes.
Mayor Shippers?
Yes. Thank you. Is Scott here?
Wait, Scott?
He's hiding in the back.
Scott Hopkins.
Scott Hopkins?
He's there.
Is there?
Way in the back.
Okay. Oh, there he is. Okay, okay, good, thank you. Okay, so now let's move to Ward 4.
Me? This was a good one. Again, we had some great candidates. Where's my notes here? I had a chance to meet David Powell at the Board of Review. You know, it's always nice to see people get involved at a lower level before they try to step up. I definitely appreciate you volunteering for that. It's nice. It's an honor to serve with you. Charles Kennard, I know, was a member of the ZBA. I believe I also served with him. I was on the ZBA before you guys put me on the Board of Review, and I had to resign that spot. Carla Moore, I appreciate your activity in local government. You know, especially recently, I've seen and heard a lot from you. But I have heard from a lot of people in the community that support Ruth Ann French. I think her qualifications were fantastic, and I'll make the motion then to nominate Ruth Ann French to the 4th Ward Council member seat.
I'll second it.
Councilmember Ellenboss?
Yes.
Ingalls?
Yes.
Mayor Shippers?
Yes, thank you. Okay, we need to get Ruth Ann and Scott up here to be sworn in. Where do you want them, Sandy? Do you want them standing?
Where?
You want to just stand up in front there? Scott, you want to come on up too? And Ruth Ann, somebody give Ruth Ann a hand to. Yeah, you're gonna.
Marcus wants me to use the microphone, so.
You want to get.
You guys can just come right up here.
Yeah, come up to spots.
Yeah. That'd be easier. So
And
the-
Scott, this will be your spot.
The
So
seats
you
are all
can
in.
come here and you can be sworn in from your seat.
They're all in ward order.
Thank you. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Come on in, big guy. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
You too. That's all right. I got it. Thank you. That was close.
So rolly chair, so be mindful.
Robert, if you can help her with the directional.
Yours is the one that points
Yeah,
to her usually.
yeah, so, oh, okay.
That's yours. This one's mine. Oh, that's Ruth Ann's.
The directional microphones.
Yeah, aim your
So
aim
you
it
have
towards
to-
you.
Okay, do it.
Marcus has pointed it right at you, so they should be
It's
right
to your
here.
left.
I'm gonna touch it. Got it.
Got it.
It's that far away.
Yep.
It'll hear you. Just speak up.
Okay. Okay, if you both would raise your right hands, please. And just to let you know, I will need both of you to sign this piece of paper at the end of the meeting. So if you please raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Michigan, the Charter and ordinances of the City of Cadillac, and will faithfully perform the duties of the office of City Council Member according to the best of my ability. Yes,
Yeah.
I humbly will.
Thank you. Thank you. Can we clap?
No.
If
they
It's
can't
not
clap,
public
we can't
comment.
clap.
Well, when somebody is, when somebody gets an award or something, we can clap.
Okay.
I think what we should do is give applause to everybody who stepped up for this. Thank you so much. We gotta be careful not to, overdo the rules, so. Okay, so next, let's see. Next, we have the election of Mayor Pro Tem. And the way this works, Marcus, maybe you could help Ruth Ann.
Yes.
There's cards in front of you. What to do is you write the name of a council member who will serve as Mayor Pro Tem. And I don't know, did you want to suggest anyone?
I would suggest Robert. He's got the seniority.
I was going to suggest Ruth Ann.
Oh, wait a minute.
No, let me get my feet wet first.
So,
There you go.
Robert
Write your
was
names
good for-
down, fold your paper.
So we write the name, or could we, okay, so write the name. If you,
There you go, good.
Listen.
Goes to Sandy.
I got you. Marcus?
Oh, one more.
Unanimous, 5 votes for Councilmember Ingalls.
Congratulations, Councilmember Engels. Mayor Pro Tem Engels. Yes, we did clap for that. And just so you know, I'm not planning on resigning, so you're good. Oh.
Or not being here, hopefully.
Or not being here. I will do my best to be here for every single. Okay, thanks, everybody. Now, let's get down to the regular agenda. I'm looking for someone to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Councilmember Hopkins,
Yes.
Ellenboss,
Yes.
Ingalls,
Yes.
French,
Yes.
Mayor Shippers.
Yes, motion carries. Okay, next we have a public hearing.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council. We have one public hearing this evening. It's regarding an ordinance that vacates a portion of West Nelson Street and reserves a public utility easement. Sandy, there are a couple of slides that we have for tonight, and our Community Development Director, John Wallace, is going to just walk us through them. This came about while you guys are getting ready. In regard to the North Lake Street Flats residential project that literally will sit about a block from where we are this evening. In short, without the vacation, the project can't move forward. John, why don't you move forward with a recommendation from the Planning Commission?
Yes, the Planning Commission has already recommended approval of the North Lake Street Flats, and as part of that, moving that project forward, it was requiring the vacation of a portion of Nelson Street. If you look at the graphic on the screen, the area that we're talking about is the green square. Now, eventually, I think at one point in time, Nelson was planned to go through all the way from Mitchell to Lake, and then with the development that happened with the former car lot, that didn't happen. And then at another point in time after that, you see the blue square. That portion of the Nelson Street right-of-way was vacated, which then left only a small piece of the right-of-way left. And with this project, and I can show you the site plan for the project, you can see Nelson Street was intended to provide access to area-wide development in that block. Well, essentially, even though you might be vacating this portion of the right-of-way, it is actually being used as access to the development, the North Lake Street Flats. Each of those buildings is 24 units, and the Nelson Street right-of-way actually provides the access drive and some parking that helps to support the apartment project.
It's the piece right in the middle.
Yes, it's the piece right in the middle. So even though you're vacating it, it's going to be serving a long-term purpose of providing access to the development on that block. And so with that in mind, the Planning Commission has recommended to the council that they approve the street vacation, which has become a necessity to have this project move forward. And that's all I have.
Okay, now with public hearing, we have public comments, and these are, how many minutes are these? 5. Okay, so for the purpose of this hearing, we have public comments that can be 5 minutes long, but only as related to this issue of the street.
So, Sam Knopp again. As somebody that grew up just north of this, or east of this, I guess technically, my question, I guess for John, since you're here, so 24 apartment complexes on both sides of that, what we're going to vacate. where the hell are we going to put 48 cars? I don't understand that looking at that unless there's another parking breakdown that you can show me where you're going to be able to fit potentially 48 vehicles. I mean, I think you're trying to jam too much into that space, and I guess that's all I'd have to say on that really. But
Thank you.
Mr. Pitch, you can have the floor if you like it. Council and everybody, I do not support giving up the right-of-way of Nelson Street Alley for the construction of the Lake Street Apartments. A couple of issues. We're relaxing our ordinances, our city ordinances. We're relaxing and it's called in the brownfields, et cetera, et cetera. Now, we cannot afford to be allowing all this growth in our city. I don't know if anybody's walked down Main Street in the middle of the morning, 9 o'clock. It's impossible. Now, I'll just stress that the other day I walked down Main Street, and the traffic on Main Street with the semis and the vehicles and everything, I mean, I couldn't even cross the street without going to a city light. It was that tough trying to get across at 8 o'clock in the morning. And that's the first time I experienced it. The exhaust, environmental pollution from all the vehicles, et cetera, et cetera. Hey, it was, Main Street's almost becoming unwalkable now. And, you know, it's a real shame, though, because the exhaust, pollution, the trucks, vehicles. So anyways, I'm not in favor of the city relaxing the ordinances for this project of the Lake Street Apartments. One, there's not enough room for the project. You have to downsize, et cetera, et cetera. Where's all the runoff gonna go? Where's the parking gonna go? Where's snow removal gonna go? And everything always ends up into our lakes. So I really, truly believe that we cannot allow this project to go forward. Because if anybody's even noticed the traffic on Main Street, it's just, besides the police being out there all the time, hey, it's a serious situation. So we cannot relax our ordinances for certain individuals to use state and federal money, which I can't get a hold of, and to make money using other people's money. So that's why I'm not in favor of the Lake Street Apartments, and we should not relax our ordinances to provide individuals with the wealth to build it. You know, we should take the risk ourselves. So, I mean, if you want to do it, but the property is not big enough to sustain the project, and everybody knows that too, so I oppose it.
Thank you.
My name is Gary Pitch, and I'm the developer of that project. And to answer the first question, we're required to have 1.5 parking spaces per unit, so we did meet that requirement. And as far as the stormwater, we have stormwater retention built underneath our parking lot to address the retention of water that comes off the eave troughs of the buildings and the storm drains in the lots, and that's going to percolate back in the ground. And there is a need for workforce affordable housing. The state of Michigan has offered that incentive to a developer that can meet their model, and we have applied for that grant, and we've achieved that model. So, and we got the support from the city and a lot of industries that have help wanted signs out, and people want to come in and get these jobs, but they can't find a place to live. So I think we meet a need in that regard, and I support the project.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no one else, we have any discussion from council? Oh, Marcus?
Just wanted to add to city council, should you get into discussion, that, you know, aside from the PFAS issue, the most important issue facing our community right now is housing. And there are many facets to that issue. It is not just a situation where we have people that are looking at all different spectrums, including workforce or attainable housing, but we are woefully behind the eight ball, according to a couple of different housing studies that are out there over the last 5 years, to the tune of, I want to say there's a couple thousand units shy in Wexford County, which we are obviously the largest municipal entity within that county. Not just this project, but one that you'll be looking at later on this evening as well, has also met the same standards in terms of being attainable or affordable housing units. There is also, you know, significant concern based on, you know, state fiduciary policies that, you know, if a local unit of government is not growing, there is no such thing as standing still. If you're not growing, you're dying. And it's not just about filling storefronts. You need a place for people to live. And so this is helping to achieve part of that goal. So that's okay.
Is this the last step on the city's behalf?
Yes, this is the last step on the city's behalf.
No questions, I'm good. Make a motion?
Sure.
Make a motion to approve the resolution to adopt ordinance vacating a portion of West Nelson Street and reserving a public utility easement in favor of the city of Cadillac.
I'll support that motion, and I wanted to say thank you, Mr. Pitch, for investing in Cadillac, and thank you to the Planning Commission for all their hard work on this. So thank you, guys. Support.
Yes, and I'd like to just reiterate what Mark has said about housing. We have a huge housing problem in this city, and I would love to support something that's going to promote housing in our downtown area, because, you know, we have a lot of stores that are unoccupied, and the more activity we get downtown in terms of people living and working there, I think that will actually enhance Cadillac's beautiful south end, is what I like to call it.
Thank you. Okay, Sandy?
Councilmember Ellenboss?
Yes.
Ingalls?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes.
French?
Yes.
Mayor
Yeah.
Shippers? Sorry.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Motion carries.
I was gonna do it.
Tip of the tongue.
Well, it's over. It's done. Motion carries. Thank you so much. Okay, next we have a Foya appeal.
Yep. Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. We do have a FOIA appeal this evening from Mr. Marine. The city is under no requirement to hear from the appellant himself. However, it has been our practice in the past to allow the appellant to speak to council about their appeal and to give them a few minutes to do that. And so I would be okay and would suggest that you also allow that to happen this evening. Following the appellant, we'll kick it to the city attorney to provide additional framework and then allow for council to discuss.
Okay. Mr. Marine, would you like to address council? How much time should he have?
Appreciate that.
5 minutes is what we've done, I believe.
Give you 5 minutes.
Wow. All right. So I've got really three key issues. So I FOIA'd any communications between Mr. Pesha, the attorney, and Mr. Dietland, or actually more Mr. Pesha, the attorney, regarding PFAS discussions. And the city granted some of that, which was I appreciate that. But Mr. Homier, is it Homier? Homier, we had some emails back and forth, and he was talking about why it didn't have to happen. But I want to talk about FOIA and what the Open Meetings Act is all about, and that's what we've been talking about this whole time, is transparency. So one of the things is the sidebar conversation is going on between Mr. Pesha and the city attorney. The city attorney wants to lead me to believe that every single conversation that he's having with Mr. Pesha is privileged conversation. Yet in his email to me, and I will quote, "Discussions between the city manager and city attorney are entirely appropriate and necessary to ensure the council is properly advised in legal and administrative matters." Well, the Open Meetings Act specifically talks about administrative matters are of public interest. Why is that? Because the public, as I talked about with the Open Meetings Act earlier, should be privy to any information that you have that influences your decision-making process. So, again, the attorney wants me to think that every single conversation that he has is privileged. And I think that's a far reach. The claim also does not it does not maintain records, which I understand as far as verbal records, but it does not clearly state whether written records exist. So if written records do exist, if there is an email in there, the city needs to provide that, and then they need to redact anything that is privileged information. But just to flat out say, you're not getting any information, so that means he's not sharing any written communications about a meeting. That's not client attorney privileged information, that's administrative. And again, I would encourage you to really read the Open Meetings Handbook, because that is statutory law that you're required to follow. And I was glad to hear that you swore in as far as the charter, because there are some charter requirements as well. So I'd ask the city to explicitly confirm whether or not any written or electronic records exist, and if they do, disclose them as required by law. I think the attorney-client privilege exemption was applied too broadly. Not all communications between Mr. Homier and Mr. Pesha are private conversations. It's foolish to think that. It only applies to legal advice and confidential discussions. Not administrative, policy, or procedural discussions are not protected and must be disclosed. And there's case law, Traverse City Record Eagle versus Michigan. And so I refer you back to Mr. Homier's email where he talks about he has administrative discussions. Those administrative discussions are public information. Let me rephrase that. What appears to be an unwillingness upon the city council, especially Mr. Pesha and some of the boards that he operates, to keep information from the public is alarming. We've already talked about the ramifications of that. So I would formally request the city review the withheld records and redact only the privileged content and release all non-exempt information. The city's response doesn't clarify whether written records were conducted or automatically withheld. So in essence, the response is that it's all privileged, doesn't address what's privileged. What part of that conversation was privileged? What part was administrative? So when you say we're not going to provide any information between the conversations between the city manager and the attorney, why? If it's privileged, redact it. If it's not privileged, you're obligated by statutory law to share that. And that's a real concern. So I'd ask the city to confirm whether written or electronic records exist and disclose them, according to Foya. Review the properly and segregate privilege from non-privilege. Provide a clear explanation of any withheld records, citing specific legal justification. And if you don't respond to that, then the only recourse we have, again, is to file another complaint with the AG. And they're probably getting a few of these by now because of the Open Meeting Act violations. And I want you to be aware now that, again, I talked about the brownfield, and this is the whole transparency aspect of this. There's not one meeting of minutes posted. Not one. No bylaws, no announcements of meetings, nothing. For 15 years.
Mr. Green, please stick with your FOIA thing. And
Yes, I'm sorry. I got sidetracked. Appreciate that. Thank you.
And you're at 5, so wind it up if you will.
Okay. I think that's about it, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Mr. Homier, would you?
Sure. So let's deal with the appeal and actually what the request was for.
The request was for, quote, all communications, written, electronic, and/or verbal, between Mr. Marcus Pecha and the city attorney during open city council meeting for the past 12 months dating back to 6th of March 2024. That request is very specific. Request written, electronic, and/or verbal between Mr. Marcus Pecha and the city attorney during open city council meeting for the past 12 months dating back to 6 March 2024. I did exchange some emails with Mr. Marine letting him know that, one, verbal requests are not subject to the Open Meetings Act because they're not a record. A record is defined by both Foya as a written document. Verbal communications are not a public record. Second, to the extent that I have conversations with the city manager during open meetings, those communications are related to city business and constitute attorney-client privileged information. So those records, again, are protected by the attorney-client privilege information. Not to mention the fact that I am not giving advice in that context to the public body. The public body is the city council. I'm not a member of the public body. Mr. Petch is not a member of the public body, and therefore not subject to the OMA. The public body, I agree, has to make all decisions and deliberations in an open session, which you have. And so I reject this premise to begin with that you violated the OMA. I know of no specific violations of the OMA. Now, people can complain about it all they want, but just as if I were serving in my private capacity as a counsel to an individual, I would be required to maintain that confidentiality the same way I do with the city of Cadillac as our client. That's what was done, and that's why we recommend that you deny the appeal. There are no such documents that are obtainable pursuant to the request, not under Foya and not under the OMA.
Is every conversation or between you and the city manager in an official capacity considered attorney-client privilege, or are there exceptions to that?
Yeah, so it certainly depends on the nature of the communication. So, for example, the request, again, going back to the request, were for written, electronic, and/or verbal between Mr. Pecha and city attorney during open city council meeting. So I don't generally write documents to the city manager when he's sitting right next to me. He may ask me a question about process, procedure, legal issues, and I'm free to have that discussion with him as the city's attorney. It is not a violation of the OMA. It's not a violation of Foya because it's verbal. There are no such written communications. Each request, though, Foya or otherwise, is evaluated on its own merits according to what is requested and what the city does or does not have and which exemptions do or do not apply.
Okay. Anybody else?
Nothing here, I'm good.
So we need a motion to either approve or deny the appeal.
I'd make a motion to deny the appeal.
Support.
Councilmember Ingalls,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
French,
Yes.
Ellenboss,
Yes.
Mayor Shippers.
Yes. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Let's move on to communications.
Being recommended to approve the display of a banner from April 21st to the 28th, 2025, and the closure of Lake Street between Harris and Cass from 12 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. on April 27th, 2025 for the Earth Day celebration.
I'd make, somebody want to say something?
Yeah, I just want to say that this is a youth council project.
Oh, good.
So they're involved in the Earth Day, and I hope everybody comes out, no matter the weather. We have had it in the market in the past, but the market is probably going to be under construction, so we asked for the street this time. So, go ahead.
I'd make a motion to approve the display of a banner from April 21st to the 28th, 2025, and the closure of Lake Street between Harris Street and Cass Street from noon, 12 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. on April 27th, 2025 for the Earth Day celebration.
And I'll second that.
Councilmember French,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Allenboss,
Yes.
Ingalls,
Yes.
Mayor Shippers.
Yes, thank you. Motion carries. Now a banner request from the symphony. What you got?
As it's being recommended to approve the display of a banner from April 28th to May 5th, 2025 for the Cadillac Area Symphony Orchestra.
I'd make a motion to approve the display of a banner from April 28th, 2025 to May 5th, 2025 for the Cadillac Area Symphony Orchestra.
So moved.
Councilmember Hopkins,
Yes.
Allenboss,
Yes.
Ingalls,
Yes.
French,
Yes.
Mayor Shippers.
Yes, motion carries. Next.
And the date, the paperwork in the packet was incorrect, just to let you
Oh,
know.
for the symphony?
No, for this next one.
For the Friends of the Library, okay.
It's being recommended to approve the display of a banner from April 7th to the 14th, 2025 for Friends of the Library. The packet paperwork was for October.
Okay.
Your turn.
I'll make a motion to approve the display of a banner from April 7th to 14th, 2025 for Friends of the Library.
Second.
Councilmember Ellenboss?
Yes.
Ingalls?
Yes.
French?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes.
Mayor Shippers?
Yes, motion carries. Okay, where are we?
Appointments.
Appointments. Yes. Okay, tell us about this one, Sandy.
Being recommended to approve the reappointment of Randy Norman to the Construction Board of Appeals for a 2-year term to expire on March 17th, 2027.
I'd make a motion to approve the reappointment of Randy Norman to the Construction Board of Appeals for a 2-year term to expire on March 17th, 2027.
Support.
Councilmember Ingalls?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes.
French?
Yes.
Allenboss?
Yes.
Mayor Shippers?
Yes, motion carries. We have another one that there's a communication that we have at the
Yes, it
desk
should be
here.
at your desk.
Okay.
Being recommended to appoint Mike Coy to the Lake Mitchell Improvement Board as the city representative.
I'd make a motion to appoint Mike Coy to the Lake Mitchell Improvement Board as the city rep.
Support.
Councilmember French?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes.
Allenboss?
Yes.
Ingalls?
Yes.
Mayor Shippers?
Yes, motion carries. Welcome aboard. Okay. Next, we have the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. A few items this evening under the manager's report. First item is a PFAS update, somewhat a brief one tonight. I did print out copies of the Utilities Department facts. This is also available online, www.cadillac-mi.net under PFAS resources. It just talks about the different operations of our Utilities Department: water, sewer, sanitary sewer, the Local Development Finance Authority that's responsible for cleaning groundwater, and its correlation to PFAS situation that's going on. And I thought it would just be helpful to have the handouts. There's also a copy left at everyone's place up here. Additionally, I will be joining a couple of members this week from the LDFA, including our chair, Matt Schichtel, who is here this evening. Hello, Matt. To speak with our legislators down in Lansing, or over in Lansing, about trying to find outside funding to help us with the PFAS issue here in terms of getting infrastructure in the ground, potentially helping with connections and whatnot. We've also applied to, at this point, one federal source as of today, and we'll be applying to another at the end of the week. Also want to give a big thank out to former Councilmember Art Stevens, who has helped with that application today to Senator Peters' office. So that is the PFAS roundup for this evening.
I wanted to say something during the PFAS update instead of waiting for good of the order. And I do intend at the end of this to make a motion for the city manager, a motion of support for the city manager to develop a city-run one-time testing program for wells in the city limits of Cadillac. And whether we buy tests to hand out like Herring or we have someone from the water department do them, I just, as a council member, I believe that, one, I need that information to make decisions, and two, it serves a secondary purpose of providing information to the homeowner. I think that makes it worth spending taxpayers' money on. I also don't think it's a very big project. I mean, the EPA recommended that we make everyone in the city hook up to municipal water. That's in their quarterly reports. And I don't know whether that's the best thing to do or not, but I think we need to have that discussion, and we're going to need this information to move forward with that decision-making process. It may come with priorities. It may come in phases. It may come with us not making all the city do the same thing. But I just wanted to discuss with, if council and the city manager thought it was a good idea or not to move forward to provide and pay for that testing. Because I do know that we need a plan. We're not covering our eyes and throwing darts at a wall. But I'm pretty sure that any plan, and maybe you guys think we have enough testing and we have the information we need. But like I said, it does serve a dual purpose. I think this is step one, and I'd like to see what everybody else thought, and then I will make a motion of support, or I'll change my mind.
You're talking about buying test kits for the 200 and some people that are negatively affected out by the 6th Street? Or?
Well, we don't know that they're all negatively affected. We know we have 200 wells in the city,
Right, but
in the city limits specifically, right. And outside of the zone, absolutely. Yep.
Okay, specifically for that group of people that have their private wells.
Yeah,
I think it's a great idea.
It would be a one-time thing, Yep.
I don't see how anybody could say no.
And I think that information might be helpful.
So if I can just add, I don't know exactly what the costs are. I know that there's a non-EPA certified test that's around $80 to $100 a unit from what I've read in the newspaper. There's the EPA certified tests that are $350 plus from what I understand from the health department. If we look at just using round numbers and say that there's approximately 150 private wells outside of the current Michigan PFAS Action Response Team area, and we're going to buy 150 tests at $80 a unit, that's $12,000, which we would have to identify, from the presumably a utilities fund. And that's a policy issue for council. I'm not suggesting that that's a bad idea. I will say that but part of the ask that we're making for outside funding isn't just to try to find funding for developing infrastructure to Marathon Drive and getting those folks connected, but we broke it out into two phases. And the second phase is to also try to obtain funding that would provide the necessary infrastructure to all of the other private wells within the city that are sort of sprinkled throughout, the whole area. So,
so would it?
But there's no guarantee that we'll get that funding.
Would it necessarily have to come from the utilities fund? Because we just got a big thing about how the utilities are
That's a good legal question. I'm not sure the answer to that.
Like I said,
or could it come from our general fund?
Well, I suspect that to the extent that you're going to use it for planning purposes, it could come from your utilities fund. If we're talking about the extension of utilities and planning for that purpose, which is what I understand at least the basis was for decision making, then I think you could use your utilities fund for that purpose, because it's going back into, at least in this case, water projects or water extension. That said, I think you could also use general fund money to do it as well on the same basis, and for the protection of public health, safety, and welfare.
I mean, I wouldn't have a problem using the general fund.
Nope.
I'd also think, to prevent delays, it could be a very small program. It could be under the city manager's spending limit approval. Like, I know you're going to lose, the discounts that come with a larger purpose. But I think if the program's small and we can start it quickly, we can catch up, and maybe our program is the first part. Maybe we do get funding 2 months from now. Maybe the list is so long that we run out in 2 weeks and it needed to be bigger, you know.
If I could ask, if this is a direction that city council wants to move into, you know, perhaps authorizing an expenditure, you know, not to exceed 15,000 would be appropriate.
Okay.
What about
And
new
maybe we could even look at, you know, where the wells are, and if there's a cluster of people with wells, instead of doing all of them, of course, we're finding that the self-contamination is a real factor in these. So, yeah, I don't know.
Well,
I mean, you know, whatever I think you decide would be better than the program that we have.
True.
Right.
I would be in support of doing this. I just don't want to rush into it. I know this problem's been ongoing for a while, so I wouldn't want to hold it back by any means. But the information on which wells and how many, I think, is pertinent to the case.
Mm-hmm.
And I am curious about.
You're thinking about tabling it for 2 weeks?
No, well,
I don't think.
No?
I think if we did.
We don't have to.
Okay.
No, I'm not saying that
Okay.
much. I just.
Like Marcus's suggestion about authorizing expenditures up to, and let staff determine
Yeah.
where that
We can give them
happens.
parameters, yeah, to work within. I'd be okay with that.
Not that any of this is simple, because it's a complex
Right,
issue.
right.
But what makes at least this part somewhat simple is that if you have property and you're on a private well and you're within the state of Michigan's heat map zone, then you're already being contacted by the state. They're already testing your property. You're not paying for anything. If you're outside of that zone of interest or of that study area or that heat map area, all those terms are interchangeable, then you're on your own. You're not, no one's knocking on your door, no one's calling you to say, hey, you know, go test your well if you haven't yet, or providing you with any insight. The state, you know, has indicated that if people outside of their area do go out and get their own tests and do find that they have levels of detection within their own tests that they would like to know about it, they're not guaranteeing that they're going to step in and do anything with it, but they do, you know, out of their own curiosity would like to know. I don't believe that we would be putting ourselves necessarily on the hook. I mean, as we've talked about before, we still need to find funding to even do what we're planning on doing out on Marathon. Obviously, anything that we do here this evening would ultimately result in us having to come back, as we traditionally do, towards the end of the year with the budget amendment to accommodate for the additional expenditure that wasn't previously planned. But I think if City Council is comfortable providing staff with essentially a funding cap, let's say 15,000, we can look at trying to provide a minimum access to the quote unquote $80 tests, which is the same testing that our neighbors to the north, I believe, are looking at doing.
Right. So like the other piece of this is those being private wells, we cannot go in and make them test, correct?
Correct.
So how do part of the whole thing you guys are going to have to figure out, or we're going to have to figure out, is how to reach those people. Maybe the paper could do something once we have that in place, and we can state it here and word of mouth, so that, because people are going to have to ask us. We can't go to them. Am I right?
Yeah, people are going to have to come and get them.
Voluntary compliance.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't
Well,
force anything.
Do we know who they are? I mean, who the people on private wells are,
Jeff,
names
sorry.
and addresses?
Yeah, we do know who they are in the
Okay.
city. I would recommend that the city take the tests and then we get the data and then we report it out to the individuals, just, or
Now, by that,
dual,
Jeff-
they both get it, so that we have it for our records, rather than if an individual did it, they might get the results and we might never get a copy of it.
Good
Do you-
point.
So I recommend that
I
my
was
staff, we can send out letters to them, we can do door hangers on their things, we can do all the steps we normally do to do that, and then I can assign somebody. It's a very the more expensive test, I don't know on the cheaper test, but on the more expensive test, you've got to wear a Tyvek suit. You have to not eat certain foods. You can't have deodorants on, all that stuff because you're going so low. So I would recommend that we have one of our staffs that is trained in that, even on the lesser tests, go and take that, so we know there's not some kind of unbeknown contamination.
And that,
So-
again, that's what I was thinking too. I figured Jeff was gonna say that. And that again would require somebody setting up an appointment
They'd
with us.
set up an appointment with the utilities department, and we'd go out there and we'd, probably once a week, we'd probably take everybody's information, then once a week we'd set up a time and just go and hit as many as we could and
That
keep
sounds-
doing that.
That sounds like a great plan, and then you would have good reporting on where all those tests were and what those results were.
And then I can actually send that on to MPART as part of their collection.
And they wouldn't get accurate results.
Motion.
But
Yeah, so I'm gonna make a motion.
Yeah,
You guys should not handle it at all. It needs to be outside. Somebody else doing it.
Excuse me, it's not public comment, thank you.
I'm gonna make a motion for the city manager to develop a city-run one-time testing program for wells within the city limits of Cadillac with a spending limit of $15,000.
Second.
I think I said.
Councilmember French,
Yes.
Ellenboss,
Yes.
Ingalls,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Mayor Shippers.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Jeff, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Next item, recommendation regarding the 2025-2026 road salt program. Again, this is something that comes to you every spring. The city participates in the My Deal state program. We anticipate it being approximately $75 a ton, and knowing that we need about 2,000 tons of road salt to cover us for the whole winter, that equals about $150,000. And we have funds available in our stores and garage fund for this purchase. Looking for that recommendation.
Owen, did the price of salt go up or down?
I think it's I'd have to look back, but I think it was about $71 a ton or something like that for that we paid currently. We bought 800 tons last year because the winter before was really light, and we put out about 1,000 tons for the whole year. Actually, we put out about 751 tons last year, and we've put out over 1,100 tons in the current year. So our barn's getting real low, so we need to really fully stock it for next year.
I'd make a motion to authorize the city to participate in the My Deal competitive bidding process and approve the commitment to purchase up to 2,000 tons of seasonal road salt through the resulting state of Michigan contract at the unit cost bid approved by the state of Michigan.
Second.
Councilmember Ellenboss,
Yes.
Ingalls,
Yes.
French,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Mayor Shippers.
Yes, motion carries. Next.
Thank you. Next item is a recommendation regarding fire department nozzles. As you'll see, we did go out for bid. We did look at adjusting the bid. We had success in getting grant dollars that covered 100% of turnout gear. And you're going to say, well, why are you talking about that? Well, the reason why I'm mentioning that is because with the funding that we received for the turnout gear, it freed up additional funding that we would now like to essentially use for acquisition of the fire department nozzles. As the communication talks about, the nozzles that we currently have date back as far back as the mid-1990s to the early 2000s, and it's time to replace them. We would like to use the lowest, most responsible bidder, which is the lowest bidder, Municipal Emergency Services out of Otter Lake, Michigan. And the recommendation is to move forward with an amount in $15,975.25 from our general fund.
I'd make a motion to award the purchase of hoses and nozzles to Municipal Emergency Services in the amount of $15,975.25.
Support.
Councilmember French,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Ellenboss.
Yep.
Ingalls,
Yes.
Mayor Shippers.
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you. The next item is with regard to the K-9 patrol vehicle emergency equipment. We are not actually buying another vehicle. We already have the vehicle. It's a 2023 Chevrolet Tahoe. The K9 vehicle is currently a Ford Explorer type unit that I believe is it going out of service?
It's the oldest in the fleet.
Yeah, oldest in the fleet. Okay.
Of the frontline cars.
Okay. We did solicit bids. Only one bid came in from Procom Inc. In the amount of $29,304.75. And that is pretty spot on in terms of what it costs for upfitting police vehicles nowadays. And so we are comfortable making the recommendation to go with Procom accordingly.
Your turn.
I will make a motion to award the purchase and installation of the K9 patrol vehicle equipment to Procom in accordance with their bid.
Second.
Councilmember French,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Alabas.
Yep.
Ingalls,
Yes.
Mayor Shippers.
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council. I believe, unless I skipped an item, we're on the last item under the manager's report, which is a recommendation regarding playground equipment over for the Diggins Hill Rotary project. And, you know, this is really a great news story. The Rotary Club of Cadillac over the years has been, you know, I guess I'd call it the catalyst for providing some real significant improvements to our area that have benefited people across the age spectrum. And this one really will do the same. And, you know, people might say, well, Marcus, you're nuts. It's playground equipment. But, you know, playground equipment isn't just for the kids. It's for the caretakers and the families and the parents and the grandparents and just everybody. What is also really incredible is Rotary was able to generate over $100,000 of fundraising that essentially will cover the entire cost of the equipment itself. And so the recommendation this evening is actually to request City Council to waive competitive bidding and to use the company that Rotary would like to use to get their equipment. It's a company called Park Vision Infinite Play. They, by the way, so Rotary raised $100,672.61. The Infinite Play amount came in at $99,817.14. Funds for this project, again, will come right through Rotary through our general fund, which is why it does require a waiver of bid. We are also, separate from this, going to be bidding out for the site grading and demolition part, which is a whole separate project and not part of this. So,
I see this one is being done with the wood mulch as the
yep, part of the value engineering piece. We could always, down the road, add, you know, the rubber playground surface if additional funds become available.
that stuff is nice when you fall, but it deteriorates so quickly.
Yep.
I'd make a motion to waive competitive bidding regarding playground equipment.
Support.
Support.
Sorry.
Councilmember French,
Yes.
Alabas.
Yes.
Ingalls,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Mayor Shippers.
Yes, motion carries.
And then a second motion. I will make the motion to authorize the purchase and installation of playground equipment from Park Vision Infinite Play in the amount of $99,817.14.
Support.
Councilmember Alabas.
Yes, and a big thank you to Rotary.
Yes.
Ingalls,
Yes.
French,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Mayor Shippers.
Yes, motion carries, and thank you, Rotary, too. That's gonna be a great project up there.
Can I add one point of information to that?
Yes,
Just for your information, it's two separate purchases for the equipment installation and then the grading. The grading has to be done to install the playground equipment, and we did let that out to bid last week. And we're offering the contractors an opportunity to make a community donation as part of their bid. I don't know if we'll get any of that or not, but that line item is in there. The estimate is $40,000 total, and that will be the city's kind of match to that phase one of that Diggins Hill restoration project. So that will also come as part of an upcoming budget amendment, the commitment of those funds, and hopefully we'll have some donation as a part of that as well. So we'll keep you posted on that.
I think part of the plan was to somehow have some kind of acknowledgement for donations.
Yeah,
So
for
if,
sure.
if someone was willing to donate the grading, I'm sure they would be part of that.
They could have a prominent place right under Rotary on the sign.
There you go. Thank you. Okay, where are we?
Introduction of ordinances.
Yep.
So, John, do you have another slide or two on this? I don't recall. Okay. So the first one is another planning commission recommendation moving forward to city council. Tonight, all that city council is being requested to do is to set a public hearing for April 7th, 2025. John, if you could just quickly introduce the item.
Sure. Cornerstone Ministries, Troy Baxter representing them, is the current owner of the property. There's two parcels, one with the church property and together with some vacant property, and then another larger piece of vacant property. So two large parcels are being recommended for rezoning into the multifamily category. And this is the graphic. It shows the parcels involved. And this received Planning Commission review, and they're recommending that the council approve this rezoning. The issue right now is that the city, while it does have some multifamily designated property, the majority of that property is either built on or being targeted for other multifamily projects. And right now, the only proposals we're getting for new housing is for multifamily development. And so when you look at what the current opportunities are on existing zoning, they are almost non-existent. There might be one parcel, if that. And so I'm prepared to go through that in depth at the public hearing, but we went through all that at the Planning Commission, and it seemed like this was an appropriate thing to do. The proximities make it particularly well-suited. If multifamily were here, it would support worker housing for the industrial parks, which are found just to the north. It's also close to the high school, which is immediately to the south of the site. And it's also within a mile of the whole downtown DDA district. So from this location, if someone were living there, they could even probably get by without a vehicle and get to work and shop and get to schools and things like that. So it's one of the few parcels left in the city that's size is large enough to accommodate multifamily development. And for that reason, the Planning Commission felt that it should be rezoned into the multifamily district. And so that's their recommendation to council, is to likewise approve the resolution to introduce the ordinance amending the city zoning map.
Just setting the hearing.
Setting the public hearing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to ask one quick question. I know that it'll be more in depth, but I watched the Planning Commission meeting. That little, the 524 Aldrich Street got joined in with that parcel behind it? The actual little house spot? I saw that on the map.
You mean the church property where the church building itself is?
Oh, that's right where the church building is?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody?
I'd make a motion to adopt the resolution to introduce ordinance amending the city zoning map, Wright Street and Aldrich Street, and set a public hearing for April 7th, 2025.
Support.
Councilmember Ingalls.
Yes.
French.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Alabas.
Yes.
Mayor Shippers.
Yes, motion carries. Okay, next one.
Okay. Another request to set a public hearing. This is regarding a resolution that would amend the current brownfield plan that's already on the site for Cadillac Lofts and set the public hearing for April 7th, 2025. Our brownfield consultant will be at the next meeting to provide a more in-depth presentation. But somewhat in short here, the brownfield plan that they like to have is the same type of brownfield plan that is on site for the North Lake Street Flats project. It's a new plan that the state recently created under their brownfield statute and it is what all of the residential projects are currently considering, at least those that we have in Cadillac, Cooley School being another one. And it basically will simplify and streamline the incentives that are on the Cadillac Lofts site. And so, for instance, currently they have also a neighborhood enterprise zone, and it's either a commercial rehabilitation or revitalization. I always get those two names flip-flop, but it's another tax abatement through this brownfield amendment for their phase 2, which they're looking at starting this spring. It would make moot the need to look at those other programs as well, and overall simplify the process. And so again, tonight we're looking at setting a public hearing. Representatives from Cadillac Lofts as well as our Brownfield City consultant will be here to provide a presentation.
Okay.
I'd make a motion to adopt the resolution regarding Cadillac Lofts Brownfield Plan Amendment Number 2 and set a public hearing for April 7th, 2025.
Support.
Councilmember French,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Alabas,
Yes.
Ingalls,
Yes.
Mayor Shippers.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. The next request is a request to adopt a resolution that would authorize the city to submit for a Department of Natural Resources grant program as a part of what we're hoping to be a future phase of the Dickens Hill Playground project. This is to create a sensory area. We are seeking approximately $163,000. Would require a local match of just over $42,000. But before we, can really move anything forward, we need the local board's support, and that would be City Council.
I love the idea of a sensory park added to it. The Blue Park, I remember when that first went in, we don't think so much about ability at playgrounds, and we think about children's ability at playgrounds, but also caregivers. That Blue Park, I remember when my children were little, I've been in and out of wheelchairs my whole life, and when my children were little, like at Kenwood, I'd have to be way out on the outside, and there they'd go off on that stuff, and I was thinking I would have to rely on the kindness of strangers if one of them got hurt, because it was not accessible to me. But the more we make our community accessible to children and adults as well with special needs, the better we make it for everybody. So, yeah, just saying.
I'd be remiss if I didn't say also that this is a project that is listed in our recreation plan, and our recreation plan is an official document, went through an official process with public hearings, both with Cadillac Area Public Schools and with the city. We have a joint rec plan together, and so this will help meet one of those goals, if we can get the outside funding, of course.
Yeah, good. Anybody want to make a motion?
This was one where I'm sorry to interrupt again. The part of the DNR process is to ask for public comments. So it didn't really fit in one area or the other. So that was what that first sentence there meant. Not necessarily for, but just to see if there was any public comments related to that.
Okay.
To that, and then we can have on the record that we sought public input on that grant application.
Okay, so shall we open it for public comment? 3 minutes?
If you would, yeah.
Yeah, so on this issue of the sensory playground, please, 3 minutes. Thank you.
Good
Hi,
catch.
Doreen Lanskin, longtime Rotarian, and all the Rotary Club members are really behind this project. And the foundation, with our donors and different funds, put $25,000 toward it last year. I have a grant opportunity for foundations to apply for up to $50,000, which I'll be applying for. So hopefully we can help with that. But the sensory park is going to be very cool for our kids. I also wrote a grant and got a matching grant from the district Rotary for benches that will say Rotary, like the one by the lake and the library. So we'll have 3 of those out there placed in certain places. But this year's project is the pavilion and the restrooms and water fountain is what we'd really like to do. So I just wanted to, yeah, it's exciting. Thank you.
Thank you, Doreen. Thanks. Any other public comments?
Your turn.
Yep, here comes someone.
So I do have a question though. So
Thanks,
where?
we've got another
Yeah,
person
where?
coming.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm so sorry.
So, fully in support of that. I grew up in that neighborhood, just again, kind of, this is kind of like my neighborhood, right? That's where I grew up. So, fully in support of the playground down at the bottom of the hill since CAPS vacated the top of the hill. That was, completely aging when I was a kid, so 20 years ago. The only thing that I would like council to consider, so when I look at Rotary projects around town, i.e. the Sound Garden, some of the other stuff that they have, maybe putting something in your guys' plan considering the maintenance or, the upkeep that it's going to take. Because when I go to the Sound Garden now, it's kind of like, yeah, I remember when that was brand new. That was great. It was awesome. I go down there now and it's like, it's not quite the same feeling, So just maintenance and upkeep on it going forward. I'm sure Doreen probably has something to say on that, and maybe they have a plan to facilitate that, but that would be my only concern. Otherwise, great project.
Thank you. Good idea. Anybody else? Okay, seeing no one, how about here?
Oh, yeah, I was just making sure, are we sure that for the purpose of that project that this satisfies the required public comment period?
Okay. That's what we've done before.
Does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution authorizing submission of applications to Department of Natural Resources grant programs.
I'll support.
Councilmember French?
Yes.
Alabas?
Yes.
Ingalls?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes.
Mayor Shippers?
Yes, motion carries. Woo-hoo.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. Next item, very similar to one you just looked at regarding process procedure. It's another DNR trust fund grant application. This one is in the amount of $500,000, including support to fund a match if we should be so lucky to get it, in an amount of approximately $140,000. Parking that was brought up earlier by a member of the public is certainly an issue. The only public parking lots within that Cadillac West Corridor area is lots that are located through the DNR themselves, both at the Carl T. Johnson Center and across the street. The closest city available parking is just a small, what I would call turnaround area that people will frequently park at on North Boulevard. That being said, we do have a lot of people that walk, that use the pathway system. The area where this amenity is projected to be is around is off of approximately 1,000 feet of public right-of-way around the Causeway area that's on Lake Cadillac. And so just because there isn't parking there, it's not as if that area isn't used. There are oftentimes people that walk there, bike there, run there, jog there. I don't exactly know how they're getting there, other than if they are parking, they're going to have to walk from the only available areas that are on it would be the north side of the campground, because that is the only public parking area. As folks on council probably recognize, as the public, the Cadillac West Corridor area is a very difficult area in terms of public infrastructure because it's all privately owned. The question or value proposition is whether or not, if you improve public amenity places, will that create a magnet to help enhance and support the private businesses that are there. We have seen on the east side of town that has been true since the development of Cadillac Commons. It is without any doubt, though, not an issue regarding the public parking piece, because Cadillac Commons is situated in an area where it's surrounded by public parking lots. That just simply does not exist anywhere within that corridor. But I think it's important to recognize that the city does have a Corridor Improvement Authority Board. They are working on trying to find ways of improving public amenities and public access. This is a feature project that could help be the catalyst to sort of a rejuvenation of that area. And what they're looking for, what we're looking for, is simply council support to apply. Doesn't mean that it's actually going to happen. But there are no good, solid answers to the public parking solution. The city does not own or control property in that end to put a lot.
So I've seen people fishing there quite a bit, but
Yep.
as Mr. Blackmer brought up, are people parking illegally in private parking lots? And, how, how.
Or they're biking.
Or they're biking, yeah, and also, putting a fishing dock there is there's not gonna all of a sudden be 30 fishers out there. We have the dock downtown, and at any given moment, there's 4 or 5 people fishing. So I don't think it's gonna draw like giant crowds to go fishing there. It might when there's like fireworks or things over the lake. People go out on the dock for that. But it could also serve as there's a sidewalk. Is there a walkway on that side of the road?
Yep.
So people coming from the state park could then have that as an option to go fish instead of just on the canal. So I don't know,
There's a walkway along the lake. I'm not certain if the
Yeah, I don't
sidewalk
think the
along the
sidewalk-
lake goes all the way in front of the state park or not.
Right, I don't think it
So-
does.
Is the pier gonna be similar to the construction of the one downtown, or is it just gonna be a long, narrow? didn't
I
look at
think there's an image. Was there an image in the packet? I know I saw one.
Yeah, just a rough sketch of just kind of a half circle.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
with, 2 connecting points to the shore and a circle around.
I see. Thank you.
You can't see that?
Oh, okay.
Now,
Oh, yeah, I can't even.
Did the lake or the
Got it.
Cadillac West improvement,
Wow, that's cool.
did the Cadillac West Improvement Board approve this? Is that where you're saying this came from?
John,
I think what's it called, the Cadillac West
Corridor Improvement Authority.
Yeah, is that where this idea? Because the DNR. I'm assuming too. This is a DNR project. That stuff would be like engineered by the DNR. Is that
No,
true?
we
No.
would
Okay,
we would engineer.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just applying to
For the
their
DNR grant.
to their grant funding arm. Yeah.
This project was added to the tax increment and development plan for the west side, and they just acted on that this past meeting and approved it. So they're aware of it.
Where of the and the people on that board support it. Did they unanimously support it, or were you at that meeting?
I believe it was unanimous.
Did they have any insights
The
into
people on that
parking
board have businesses
as
over
an
there.
issue?
No, but I did have one suggestion. Mike Blackmer was in here. He's been looking for an alternative use for the baseball fields. That would be a place not far away where there could be public parking and a pathway created back out to the causeway. Wouldn't be a very far distance, but just an idea.
We'd have to figure out how you cross 115.
Right.
Yes.
That's a challenge, yeah.
Right.
I mean, that Cadillac West Improvement Authority Board is made up of, like Mr. Blackmer said, he used to be on it, and it's made up from business owners from Cadillac West, just like Mr. Blackmer.
That's a deciding factor.
So again, we would like the opportunity to have some public feedback before council takes action.
Okay, so we open it up for public comment. Anybody in the audience or in the gallery here want to make a public comment about the fishing dock?
I didn't think I was gonna talk, 'cause I was gonna get out of here okay. There is a fishing pier right now out on the east or the west side of the lake at the state park. So, you go, state park has one, the Sands doesn't. Hey, we need another one. Yeah, and there's no parking, so I echo Blackmer's concern because it's already congested out there. So, and the people that do go fishing out there, it's a springtime thing for the most part. They're trying to catch crappies, and they maybe need a better pole, but they sure don't need a new pier. So I think it's a waste of time, and I think it's a waste of money. I think that the time and money could be used better places, other places. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Pat Ponzak, Cadillac. There's no parking out there. that highway, I don't know if the speed limit's 40 or 45, but everybody's going 60 and 65. That'd be a very dangerous place to hang out. Some people go fishing there now. You see them out there fishing. You see them around the lake, and everybody seems to have enough places to go fishing for the moment. I think that's a very poor idea. There is no parking.
Hi, my name is Lois Potasek. I am a Cadillac resident. In fact, I live over in that area where you're talking about. And I have to agree, there is no parking. The people that fish along there now, if they drive, which many of them do, park off the road, sometimes on the berm and sometimes even far enough over into the sidewalk. And so I think we have a traffic speed problem. The posted speed limit's 25 miles an hour. Very rarely do people adhere to it. I do because I live in that area. I've been passed on North Boulevard. It's a dangerous situation. If you add parked cars along there as well, that's going to make it even more dangerous. I don't know who's looked into the pier. The water depth is very shallow, so I don't know that they're going to get much off of a pier. So I'm not sure that that's the best location for a pier. Thank you.
Thank you.
In between, yeah, like right off the water, like right in the middle, yeah.
Council, Madam Mayor, not only the parking issue, but I used to scuba dive that quite a bit. It is shallow, and I can tell you I also fish there, and I can tell you that by mid-season, the milfoil is so bad that you can't catch fish. So I don't know how much thought was put into this process if you're trying to attract fisher people, if you will. I'm not sure that that's a wise place or a good use of the money, especially with what's being brought up as a concern. And me having an intimate knowledge of the bottom of the lake right there, I can tell you that, like I said, come midsummer with the milfoil, until you get that in control, there will be no fish in there. I mean, you spend some time throwing a line out there, but that's about it.
Thank you.
So I'll just add some context to Brad's statement there. The causeway right there, if anybody has ever looked at a map, what I've got pulled up here is the fishing app, gpsnauticalcharts.com. So that grade for quite a ways out there is about 5.5 feet. The hole that everybody likes to fish out of when they're on a boat out there is over off of Sunnyside Drive. You know, that goes down. There's certain spots out there that they average 12 to 16 feet, and there's a couple holes that sometimes you can get them a little bit deeper than that. But for you guys to put a pier there, I think, like he said, and everybody else is kind of echoing, might be a waste of money, and obviously a public safety thing, right? The speed limit sign changes right there at Sunnyside Drive. I'd be curious to know how many tickets are written there, you know, either by city or county, state, whatever. So you're just adding to that problem too, right? So.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to make a few other comments on this. Should also be understood that the West Side Board, Corridor Improvement Authority, in their development plan has proposed improvements for the causeway itself in terms of controlling traffic speed through the design of changes to that causeway, including possibly adding a median to that causeway. So I think in the future we're likely to see reduced speeds and safer crossing mechanisms for the highway. The city has encouraged MDOT to do a safety audit of that entire stretch of roadway, and that audit should be completed shortly, and we should be able to assess what MDOT has come up with for their plans for that area. And then also, just speaking on behalf of somebody who's been working with the Corridor Improvement Authority, the whole goal of that authority is to promote that business district more as a tourist district. And so whether it's for fishing or for just viewing the lake, I think it would be very instrumental in driving further demand to tourist-oriented businesses in that area. Thank you.
I didn't plan on saying something, but I'm going to anyways. I just want to throw out a couple other viewpoints here. First of all, as a business owner, I can tell you, no matter how much parking you have, you never have enough. No matter what building you're in, you never have enough parking. Unless you have a spot right by the door for every single person, which is physically impossible, you'll always hear that argument. I've heard it in this community, I've heard it in every community I've ever been a part of. Miraculously, if you have an experience that people want to go to, they'll find a way to get there, especially if you can make it accessible. So I would focus on that. Parking, yes, it's an issue. I don't think that should bring the whole thing to a stop and say we're not going to invest in Cadillac West simply because we have an obstacle that needs to be addressed. Second part is the fishermen are already there. My kids, we ride bikes around the lake. My daughter loves to use that pathway. I look at it as potentially improving safety, because if it gets them off of that bike path where they are casting their poles, they have their tackle boxes set on there as bikers and walkers and stuff are trying to use it, I think it could be a potential upgrade. And I don't think that that's been considered. With the state park, you get a ton of walkers out on the west side of town. You get a ton of bike riders. I completely agree with the sentiment that something needs to be done about traffic safety on 115, just like it does need to be done on downtown. Do I think that this is going to be a cure-all for everything? No, but I think it's a good starting point. And my request and advice would be to listen to the business owners on the west side that are trying to build a tourist destination out there and strengthen that part of our town. Their voices need to be heard. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, seeing no one else? Folks?
Wow, I was all over the place with that. But those last comments about actually getting the fishermen on the lake and off the bike path is really something to think about.
Mm-hmm.
But I appreciate the comments, the fellow that knew the water depths and the holes and the milfoil problem. That's also a consideration. But I probably would want to support the.
You want to make a motion to? Or you have more to say?
West side there.
Yeah, I think for me personally, I would need more time to be able to vote yes on this. I'm not opposed to this. I view this very favorably. But some of the things that John said about the Cadillac West Improvement Authority, that all sounds good. I'd like a chance to talk to them a little bit more. I didn't know if this was time sensitive at all. I could vote no, or I could vote to table it. But again, I do view this very favorably. I just wish I had a little bit more
information.
Marcus, is it time sensitive or?
Probably, but I'll have to ask.
Yeah, grant applications are due April 1, so this is the last meeting before then. But we can apply in a year, so it doesn't kill the project necessarily. I don't think we've done a ton of work in terms of the detailed engineering and things, and we have had conversations with the DNR. I know that came up a little bit, but.
Yeah,
I think if there's concern, and there was a number of comments bringing up some issues, so we're happy to vote on this one, or to reapply in a year.
I'd make a motion to reapply in a year.
And this wouldn't get built this.
No, it's not till like 2027
Yeah,
anyways,
so let's
it's a
get more
couple of years
information.
out. Yeah.
Okay, I like that.
And I think I was going to say, council should also, though, recognize that as much as this would be an amenity for our own residents, we do receive thousands of visitors that come through the state park every season. And this would also be a highlight or an amenity for them to use as well. Not this season, of course. We
Right.
first would have to even get the grant. And while it's being called a fishing pier, it would be used for any number of purposes, similar to seeing people on the McKillop Walkway Bridge, taking pictures, walking across it, hanging out. I mean, it's a multi-purpose facility. So,
And I'd really like, I know what John was talking about, it'd be nice to have a small presentation about the Cadillac West Improvement Authority's plan, because you mentioned their future plans to show slow traffic. I mean, if we were getting behind a bigger vision that had to come in pieces, even though it may not have made sense at the time, you know, I can definitely understand that. So that'd be nice to fold us into that loop, because it sounds like they're gonna have several things that they're gonna be asking for coming down the pike. And I know this is 4, 5, 6, 10 years. I know this is long-term thinking, but so that'd be my request too.
And this one is a sizable match, so do want to be thoughtful about addressing any concerns or different strategies, especially when we're going to be committing that kind of dollars to it.
Excellent. So we have a motion to
Table it till next year.
next year.
I'll support that.
I don't think we can table it till next year, we just to bring it back.
Bring it
We then
back.
just vote, do we have to just vote no on it at this point? Or-
You can take no action and we'll
Take
just
no
bring
action?
it back. Yeah.
I make a motion, we take no action.
That's no action, that's action. So we're just gonna move on.
Well, we have a motion out.
We have a
so-
motion, do we have
I'll
a,
support that.
Okay.
so we vote to take no action?
Yeah.
Isn't that taking action?
Sandy?
Not a problem.
All right,
Councilmember Hopkins,
Leave 'em
Yes.
laughing.
Alabas,
Yes.
Angles,
So and the motion's to vote no on this, no action, all right. So it's just a no. Yes, I'm voting yes on no.
Yes, I know.
All right, just to
Love
further
it.
complicate it, I will also
Welcome.
vote yes and no. It's my
Mayor
turn.
Shippers.
yes, I know.
Okay.
Motion carries, I guess. Okay, we'll look at this next year, and I look forward to getting some more
Some more
stuff from
information,
the Cadillac West Corridor. Hear about their plans and stuff.
We have one more item. It's a consideration of adopting a resolution. It's pertaining to our Shared Streets and Spaces Grant Funds. Owen, if you could handle that.
Yep, so this one should be significantly easier. This application was already approved by council, and we received the grant, and it's $200,000, and it's 100% grant, zero match. It's for permanent signing and pavement markings along shoulders, pedestrian crossings, and wayfinding signs through the Lakeside District around Lake Cadillac, including shade picnic shelters at the White Pine Trailhead and at the Haines Street Micro Park, and tables and chairs at the market, and all together with necessary related work. So we received that grant. It's $200,000. It's 100% grant, and the MDOT needs us to just approve the contract, which was in the packet, and authorize the signer, which is the city manager, because that's an electronic signature. So
That's outstanding. Cool.
Great.
Great, good job. Who wants to do that one?
I make a motion to adopt the resolution regarding MDOT contract number 245601.
Second.
Councilmember Alabas,
Yes.
Angles,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
French,
Yes.
Mayor Shippers.
Yes, motion carries. Oh, that's cool. And now, that takes us to our second public comments. Once again, same guidelines as before. Be civil, be kind. Thank you.
Hello all. My name is Carla Moore and I live in Cadillac. I'm not part of a group or anything like that. No one speaks for me and I don't speak for anyone else. I want to go over like a whole bunch of things really fast. As far as the water testing you guys were just talking about, this refers back to the previous meeting that we were just in. We were talking about fear versus lack of information. I would like to suggest if you could, Marcus, contact the water testing company, negotiate a lower price because you're going to buy so many of them all at once, and have them to duplicate the results to the homeowner and to the city so that everybody has the same information. So you take away the fear of someone manipulating the results to get a favorable, going forward.
Who would manipulate?
No, I'm not saying that you are.
Public comment, Marcus.
Oh, sorry.
It's public trust, okay? So you'll overcome all those issues if you negotiate a lower price and tell them you want to have the information sent to the homeowner and to the city both. That way, everybody's on the same page, and no one can have any doubts about, you know, what exactly really is the water results, because I'm sure you know that'll come up. Okay, next thing. Can we do anything to have a bigger presence on Facebook and other social media for the city? Okay, that's another thing. Dedicated grant writers until it's finished would be another suggestion for the PFAS grants. It shouldn't be like 5 minutes before lunch, or, you know, I got an hour before I go home. It should be like all 8 hours until it's finished, and it wouldn't even take that long if you had a few people doing it. I realize grants are an ongoing process, but I'm specifically talking about the PFAS funding. That way you can get everything handled. Meetings need to be on the calendar, not just the news flash section. It's very hard to find. I was trying to post links, which isn't really my job, but I'm concerned citizen, and attendance is key, community involvement. And so it's easier, like if it's on a calendar, you can screenshot it, or you can post a link to that page, and then everybody can follow along. Consistency should be a goal. Okay. Let me look at my notes here. For the new city council members, congratulations to you both. I just want to remind you, you're new today, but starting tomorrow, you're not new anymore. And I wanted to also point out, this is not about padding your resume. It's a responsibility to the citizens of Cadillac. It's not just a board, not just another board to serve on. We have a lot going on. I'm sure you've been paying attention and watching the meetings if you weren't here. So keep that in mind. And you are either part of the problem or part of the solution. So hopefully we can get things done now. Thank you, that's all.
Thank you.
Brandy, I don't like standing up here talking, but there was a comment made that was highly unacceptable. You're talking about gaining trust. That's amazing. Robert wants to do testing. That is awesome. You're with it. You have your utility director over here volunteering to do it, but he's going to have Vax do everybody up. So that's where the lack of trust starts. What the hell's in the water that he's afraid of? That's what I would like to know, because when my water was tested, 2 bottles, they got it out of the sink. They took the filter thing screen off of the sink, 2 bottles of water, rubber gloves. There was no HEVAC suit. So again, that puts fear into people, like what the hell is in the water?
Hold on while I get up here closer to the microphone. Thank you. Susan Giftis, Cadillac Advocates for Clean Water. I've been working with the community closely for 3 months now. Cyclopure tests, bulk tests, $70 a piece. I've been working with Eagle, I've been working with DHHS, I've been working with Cyclopure. You guys would know that if you would have returned my emails. Cyclopure will give you the data. They will also give the homeowner the data. We're already doing this with Herring Township. I've got a database of almost 200 people in the community that I've personally talked to. I have a waiting list of people who are requesting test kits. I have self-test results for almost 50 people around the community. That's all information you guys should have. If you were working with us, you would already know this. It's disheartening, and it's really pathetic. You guys need to be doing more. Thank you so much, though, for agreeing to test now. It needs to be done. We're already doing this with Herring. Speaking of Herring, they've been asking for a written proposal for Mary Street, Seneca, that area. They're still waiting. I've been sworn in as the deputy supervisor for Herring Township. I would appreciate if you guys could get me a written proposal for Mary Street and Seneca so I can go back to the Herring Township Board and discuss what's going to happen out there. If you want names and addresses of people who are waiting for tests, let me know. I'd appreciate it. Thanks.
Andy Van Alst again. This is what we were talking about in the work session earlier about the trust and restoring the trust. And as we were talking, as Marcus was going through the rundown on the PFAS, I'm sitting there thinking there's two people right here that aren't engaged, you know? And we talked about having the other people that are concerned about, with, like Brad Marine and Bill Barnett and all that stuff, to bring trust back into this council, you know? And so I'm glad that all the work that these guys have done, and Matt stepping up with the LDFA and trying to have some transparency and some faith in in you guys and other parts of the city too. So I think that was good that she got up and said that. But I think that yeah, Mary Galvanic is also involved, and it'd be nice to see a committee or a way to get people together where it's not limited to 3 minutes. And then congratulations to you guys. You must be a little bit nuts to be up there, but congratulations for applying, and thanks for putting in.
Thank you, Andy.
Again, Brad Marine. Mr. Ingles, appreciate it. I mean, it's 5 years. It took 5 years to get it done, but I'm glad you got there. So Mike Blackmer and I talked, and he said, you know, it's killing us, Brad. And I said, well, take it to the city council. Because here's what I'm insisting on, and here's what I'm using Facebook for. I'm insisting on that you follow charter. Now, if you think about that, the city charter establishes clear guidelines for the city manager oversight. The city manager, and it's clear. And if you don't believe it, it's all records. Just go to the city website and look for the minutes for the LDFA, look for the minutes for the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. They're not there. That is a clear violation of the Open Meetings Act. That restricts public access to the government decision-making process. That's against the law. It's a law. Yet in the 2024 evaluations that we FOIA'd, neither of the 3 original council members have addressed that. Not only that, but he has a responsibility to enforce city ordinance. Do you know, to this day, to this moment, this exact second, there's a 2018 ordinance that requires anybody in the industrial complex be hooked up to city water. Mr. Dietland admitted in the LDFA meeting the other day, there's a gentleman who's still on private well water. 7 years that the city manager has yet to enforce a city ordinance. And what do? You continue to give him high scores on his appraisal, despite 15 years of Open Meeting Act violations, despite 7 years of not enforcing city ordinance. And you know what Mr. Dietland's reply was? Well, he's a good old guy. I don't want to upset him. Well, I hope that you apply city ordinances to me the same way. You don't like me, so therefore don't mess with me. Let me just do what I want to do, right? That is a ridiculous excuse. And you have an obligation, especially the new members now that you swore to the charter, just like everybody else has, to uphold the charter. And if you don't understand what that means in terms of holding the city manager accountable to that, then you're failing us. If you continue to fail, if you continue to violate the law, yes, I will use Facebook, I will use every social media platform available to highlight those deficiencies. It's a simple fix. Hold him accountable, because it's a misdemeanor charge. Hold him accountable for not making sure that the ordinances in the charter are being carried out. That ordinance is to protect the health. Why in the Sam hell would you not enforce that? It blows me away. You totally ignore it in the evaluations. Totally ignore it. So you've got a choice, and I'll keep hammering you. I got a close circle of friends, and it's a really small, close circle, and that's all that counts. And what anybody else thinks of me, I don't care. But I do want him held accountable, and I do expect you to do your job. Too easy, right? Do that, we're good. Thank you.
Mayor, Council, Randy Lindell. Final comments. Couple of things, just real simple. I've noticed that a lot of our street signs throughout town are fading really bad. Stop signs, geo signs, street name signs. Can we take a look at that, please? I'd really appreciate it. I've noticed a lot of them. There's one, if anybody, this is a trivia question of the night. Who can find the only 1 hour parking sign in the city of Cadillac? And name that. Brian?
No.
Come on now. There's been 3 cemetery foremen that know exactly where that's at in the past 20 years.
Outside my office.
So anyways, but please, Mayor and the Director of Public Works, can we check out, do a sign survey? Because there are some bad yield signs, et cetera, throughout. You know, that'd be much appreciated. Stop signs are fading, et cetera, et cetera. So anyways, getting back, you know, we're going to come up with a new budget meeting coming up, everybody, new council members. With the increase of population, Aldridge Street projects, the, what is it, the Lake Street apartments, the new lofts, what's going to happen is that our water and wastewater use is going to go sky high. And the new term is coming up, and it's all going to reflect back on our citizens because the treatment plan is, I haven't talked to Director Dietland, but we're almost maxed out there. You know, I think we were at 5 million gallons a day. I don't know where we're at now, but it's going to reflect back on the citizens of Cadillac, and that's not right by bringing in this population. And I really believe that our city forefathers didn't want to see this happen to the town, and that's why I oppose some of this housing projects again. So, and then with the industries, you know, they're violators, and there are a lot of cause of the PFAS, and there's still violations going on: zinc, lead, chrome, copper, lead, zinc, nickel, whatever. So, you know, that's really important. You know, sure, it's good to have population, but we're going to be building a new treatment plant here pretty soon. So anyways, I just want to finish up with the water sewer demand is going to put more pressure on it, and it's probably going to raise our water and sewer rates. So I don't want to see that. And then the last thing, you know, this one guy discussed the budget. Yeah, we're doing a good job on that. And I had a friend who was a financial director downstate, and we talked about him applying for a new job as a financial director. But what he had to do to become, and Owen might know, I'm not going to go there with
You're
Owen.
at 3 minutes, so why not?
Okay, anyway, he had to go kiss the ring of the finance director of Port Huron to be approved for the job. Can I get a picture of you next to Donald Trump?
Thank you, Andy.
That's a beautiful picture, Trump. Oop, there he is.
Oops, there he goes.
Oops, there he is.
Okay. And
Thank you.
did you already speak at this one?
Sam Knopp again. So I want to address the PFAS issue. Mr. Engels, thank you for at least taking some action tonight. Little disappointed that no one mentioned, you know, Mary Galvanic's group and what they're doing, or the fact that, you know, I find it very odd that now all of a sudden we're wanting to take that action to look at those 200 wells, but you have the members of the community that just spent maybe some of their own money, maybe some of what, you know, Mary and them are doing. So it's like, yeah, you know, we're not going to expect the city to refund that, because why would you? You know, I don't think you guys are going to support that, but I don't know. I thank you for doing what you did, but it's a little too late in my opinion on that. And then my last comment is for the mayor. So when I look at the overall flow of this, just something I think I would like to see changed is towards the end here. We're doing public comment now, good of the order, closed session, and then you come out of it and adjourn. However, I feel like that kind of binds you a little bit, because when you go to the closed session with Mike, you guys are allowed to talk about what it's generally about, but you can't make a decision in there. And if you want to do that, coming out of it, it would be back in the open meeting setting, unless, I believe there's one thing, Mike, that it talks about where if it's like detrimental to financial effectiveness to the city or something like that. But so maybe just switching this around so that You come out of the closed session, you do, good of the order or public comment, whatever. But, like there's one thing I want to say, but I can't say it now because you haven't done the closed session, right? So you come out of the closed session, public comment, good of the order, adjournment. So other than that, have a good night.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no one else, I'm gonna close public comments. And we are at good of the order. Anybody?
I'd like to welcome the 2 new members, and to anybody that didn't get in those chairs, there'll be an election in November. Please raise your hand if you have any interest, and then we'll have a real election. But I'm sure they'll do a good job till then. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I am just going to say, I don't have too much to say, but I am going to talk about PFAS for just a second. Because, from the city's point of view, from the city's perspective, we're working on this from several angles. We're developing plans to hook people up. We're talking about reducing the future PFAS imprint, and we're exploring ways to clean up the environment if that's possible. We don't know the source of the PFAS, and we don't know if the current LDFA apparatus can be helpful in cleaning that up out of the groundwater or out of the environment. But other steps that we may take to reduce the spread of PFAS in the environment include disposing of our biosolids in a different way. We might provide further treatment to the treated water that's entering the Clam River from our sewer plant if we decided that was needed. And I think we might end up working to provide sewer hookups as well as water hookups to the surrounding areas, like we do the LMSA, to decrease the amount of septic tanks contaminating the groundwater. And if you listen to the MPART meeting, they pointed to them as one of the possible causes of spreading PFAS in the groundwater. And I know when it comes to the biosolids that's a very expensive item to change the way we do it. The state of Maine has outlawed the practice outright, so it's not ridiculous to be having a conversation. And I'm not saying I support it one way or another, but I think we need to have a plan in place and a discussion about that cost. If the farmers decide to stop using that, or if we decide to stop doing that. I also, wanted to highlight the work that the LDFA is doing as new council members and current council members. I do hope that you're watching that, and I thank Marcus and the city every time for putting those online. I think the LDFA is doing a good job doing 2 things: exploring what happened in the past and making sure we're doing the best job possible moving forward. And you have to do those things at the same time. And I hear the argument during public comment there, during here and in the community. Some people saying we need to move on and start searching for solutions. Some people saying they want immediate accountability for the missteps that were made. And I would say that both sides need to be patient, and that as leaders in the community, we need to do both of those things. As a council, I think we could take the PFAS topic in two different parts. We probably need to have a meeting where we explore a comprehensive solution. The biosolids, the effluent, the septic tanks, connecting people to city water. That might include hiring a consultant, like you might have heard if you were in our session, to manage the strategy. It definitely does demand that we have a comprehensive strategy for that. And then the second part is, a meeting where we go over some of the things that happened in the past. I would hope that we do that. The recent past and the not so past, because, when I've talked about pollution in the past, I'm always, you have to tell people it is a very long story. The people and companies that put the pollution there aren't here anymore. The people and places, a lot of them that put the solutions in place, the current solutions that we have, are no longer here either. But we need to publicly have a place where we can publicly ask questions, and the people here need to make sure that we have permanent solutions and controls that are in place so that the same mistakes aren't made again. So that is just what I would like to see us moving towards this spring and in the early summer, because when you talk about healing and building trust, you have a comprehensive plan moving forward, and you have a retrospective view of what went wrong or how we could do better. So there's no rush for one or the other. some of the solutions need to happen quickly. A lot of the stuff is going to take place over a very long period of time. So that's what I would like to say about that.
Can I comment then? Go ahead. Yes, well, first of all, I'd like to thank you for the honor of serving on this council. And, you know, I just hope that I will be up to the challenges that all of the concerns in our community that we're dealing with. I would like to just ditto everything you just said, because that's everything that Robert said, because I have history with the origins of the LDFA, but yet the current LDFA situation, I need to be brought up to speed. And I also, and I've already talked to Marcus about having a session to do that, and then T.I. had mentioned having a task force of some sort that would involve stakeholders and community members, and maybe now that's what Robert, what you're referring to some degree. Anyway, I'd like to be a part of that and try and bring solutions and healing to our community, and so that we can all be working together. Obviously, the citizens groups are doing the work that they are doing, and if they have information that we can use on council, I would ask them to share that with me. So I'm better informed about what you're doing, and also how council might utilize your efforts. And so with that, I'll just say thank you and pass the torch.
I don't know if I have much to add to what everybody else has said already, so I appreciate the opportunity to sit here and hopefully be part of the solution. As somebody said earlier, I want to be the solution, part of the problem, so I'm hoping that's the direction we're going to go. So, but yeah, I don't really have, I could ditto what everyone else has said already so far, so.
Mark, do you have anything?
Closed session.
Okay. Well, I just want to say that thank you, Robert. Thank you, everybody. And although you know, I have not engaged with a bunch of the emails, I've read everything. And part of our plan moving forward is to create a strategic plan that involves the groups that have been doing this, that involves other members of the community. And we are starting that right this next week. We're starting putting together a plan for how to move forward, creating that plan and then implementing that plan. From this point forward, we are changing direction, shall we say. We've been working on this in a reactionary way for a really long time. And we've got lots of information, we've got more information to come, and we're ready to start pulling all these pieces together. It's like all the helium balloons are blown up and hanging around in the gymnasium, and now we need to start pulling them all in. And that's our plan moving forward. So I understand frustration with the time it takes, but as Robert mentioned, things move slowly in government. That was the hardest thing for me to learn when I first sat here, is that things don't happen immediately. And there's good reason for that I found out over the years. But I just want to thank everybody for their engagement, their involvement, and we're ready to work together and bring some good solutions to the table. And I also want to say that well, no, I'm not going to say that at this point, but I want to thank staff for all the work they do and all the work that they've done with this. And as things are revealed, and as that their efforts and their work is going to become more explicit, it's been very difficult to get the word out, shall we say. So that's us moving ahead. After that, we need a motion to go into closed session.
I'd make a motion to adjourn to closed session pursuant to MCL 15.268, 1 parentheses, H parentheses, to consider a confidential written legal option which is exempt from discussion or disclosure by state or federal statute. Got it. Let's go. Sounds like
Support.
We gotta wait, we gotta vote.
Folks, hold on, we
Second.
can't hear, we need to be, we're still in session. So shh, thank you so much.
Councilmember Ingalls.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
French.
Yes.
Alabas.
Yes.
Mayor Shippers.
Yes. Motion carries.
Okay.
I'll support that.
Yeah, I know your wife.
Councilmember French? Councilmember French?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes.
Elabas? Ingalls?
Yes.
Mayor Shippers?
Yes. Motion carries, and we are adjourned. Thank you.
Tour the wastewater plant, water.